about beef tallow for a minute. So beef tallow, everyone thinks that this is like the best thing since sliced bread, right? Because it's way better than seed oils. There's a whole situation going on, and everything is, seed oils are to blame and beef tallow is the best. I don't understand why everybody's saying that. So here's why. I just did a project. I just said this in my stories, but I just did a project where it was like, okay, there are 4 disease states: psoriasis, Crohn's disease, arthritis, and lupus. And we had to pick 5 things. This is for my doctorate program. We had to pick 5 nutrients to either include or exclude for each disease state, each autoimmune disease state, which Crohn's disease, I just found out, is not actually technically an autoimmune disease, but that's a whole nother thing. What do you think the one thing that all of these things had in common, the one nutrient, was that all of these have in common? Well, it was omega-3 fatty acids, because omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. They slow the inflammatory process. So all of these autoimmune diseases, essentially inflammation is being caused by your immune cells for one reason or another. And when that happens, we've got to bring down that inflammation. And one of the ways we do that is with omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids are going to be nuts, seeds, avocado, shit like that. There's like eggs, kind of. Anyway, so fish, fatty fish. Okay, so what I found, what I'll read to you about psoriasis specifically from this, and I'll put I don't know where, I don't really go live, so I don't know where to put this, but I will put some citation somewhere around here. Okay, inflammatory activity of interleukins. Now, interleukins are basically immune cells that are responsible for some inflammation, and they're overactive in an autoimmune kind of situation. But anyway, okay, so inflammatory activity of interleukins found in omega-6 fatty acids, that's going to be counterproductive to autoimmune disease. What kind of fat is beef tallow? It is an omega-6 fatty acid. There's some omega-3. If it's grass-fed, there's more omega-3. But who's regulating what the profile of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids in beef tallow is? Nobody. I promise you that. So there are a lot of things that you can kind of get away with that maybe are going to be cheaper to lie about. And when you look at the experimental AI that pops up on Google now, when you search like what kind of fatty acid is a beef tallow, it's all these blogs that come up. It's not like research. So where are you getting your information that says that beef tallow is the best? Is it from someone who's a blogger, or is it from someone who is really passionate about research like I clearly am? Okay, then we're looking at, when we're looking to reduce systemic inflammation, example of omega-6 fatty acids include saturated fats, butter, beef tallow. Metabolism of fatty acids, we're looking at a door, right? We all have to walk through the same door. We're omega-6 fatty acids, omega-3s, omega-9s, some other omegas in there that we don't have to talk about right now. They're all trying to get in through the same door. And they can't, because the door is not big enough for all of them to get in. So when you remember that, it's like, okay, I want to avoid seed oils because they're processed, or because it's machine oil, machine lubricant, or whatever it is that we're all saying. That's fine. You can do that. But please do not come on the internet and say that beef tallow is the answer, because we have gone and beaten to death the amount of research that's been done on saturated fats and heart disease. And it's clear that saturated fats cause heart disease. Like I'm an integrative functional dietitian. I'm not trying to say like that they don't. I'm not trying to say that, I'm not trying to promote like big pharma here. I'm trying to give you the research and the facts so that you understand a little bit better what's going on. And what we're really looking at is a situation where, yes, okay, beef tallow, going to be hopefully an unadulterated source of fat that has not been processed in the same way as canola oil, for example, or in this case, corn soybean oil. Fine, but what's wrong with avocado oil? Like, why can't we just use that? I just don't understand. I really don't understand it. And what I need you guys to get, and this was all sparked by Robert F. Kennedy, obviously, but what I need you guys to get is that just because something seems better doesn't mean that it doesn't have its own set of issues and problems that we need to be aware of if we want to truly be informed about our health and be healthy, right? So, okay. Additionally, omega-3s and omega-6s are trying to get through the same door, and there's not enough room for them both to get through that door. So we need to make room by reducing our consumption of omega-6 fatty acids and increasing our consumption of omega-3 fatty acids, which means that we don't want to be eating a standard American diet. Now, I actually eat red meat once or twice a week because I have Crohn's disease. I'm iron deficient anemic and always have been, like, for a million years. And so red meat is one of the ways that I can naturally increase my iron intake because it is the single most bioavailable source of iron on the planet. So what I do there is I monitor, right, my heart. I get a calcium score every once in a while, which I do have to pay for out of pocket. It's like $100. I certainly get labs and go to the doctor because I want to make sure that my cholesterol is not going crazy. You know what I mean? I don't want heart disease. So I do have to monitor these things. And so I'm not saying don't eat red meat. I think it's a wonderful, nutritious, mineral-rich source of lots of things. But at the same time, to say to a general public and to be out there saying yourself, first of all, when you have a platform that you stand on, make sure you know where you're getting your information. Make sure that you understand what biological processes are involved, because if you're looking for something unadulterated, then just spend more money on a high quality olive oil or avocado oil. And the higher quality olive oils do not smoke at a low heat like the higher, like coconut oil, and like we once thought that olive oil did. So that's really important to remember too, okay? Lastly, the standard American diet is 10-to-1 to 20-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3 consumption. So for every 1 gram of omega-3 fatty acids, we're eating 10 grams or 20 grams of omega-6 fatty acids. Makes sense, right? Because all of our processed foods have corn oil in them or soybean oil in them pretty much. And we're eating a lot of saturated fat and red meat and fried foods. So of course that's happening. What is the ideal ratio? And I want this to be correct since that's the whole point of this live. It's like, 4-to-1. So for every 1 gram of omega-3s, 4 grams of omega-6. So we still have an omega-6 profile that's going to be higher than omega-3. Our body can't make either of these, so we do need both of them. But trust me, you're getting plenty of omega-6s. It's the omega-3 that you really want to prioritize with those foods. So in conclusion, beef tallow is probably a little less processed. It's also way less regulated. It's also saturated fat that can clog your arteries and cause heart disease if you were to eat it all the time and not go to the doctor, not get those labs checked every year, that kind of thing. It's also an omega-6 fatty acid, so it is increasing that ratio and it's blocking the door to the omega-3 fatty acids that are trying to get in as well. And all of those things are creating a pro-inflammatory environment, meaning we are making it nice and warm and cozy for all of our inflammation-producing cells and inflammation-producing immune responses to settle in and hang out and be inflammatory, versus looking at other sources, other ways to kind of get these things going so that we're celebrating an anti-inflammatory state. Other ways that we can reduce inflammation: fiber, brightly colored fruits and vegetables, moving, sweating, peeing, having bowel movements, and of course, just like eating real food versus food from boxes or food from restaurants that, you know, could possibly be really high in sodium and that kind of thing. Again, there's a place for salt. I'm not saying that you need to like necessarily limit salt, but I'm saying when our diet is so pro-inflammatory, we want to like look at the low-hanging fruit and say, okay, well, what can we do today to start to bring that down? So, for example, if you are in the car all day and you have to eat something and you normally stop at Chick-fil-A, well, can you at Chick-fil-A then get grilled nuggets and a salad instead of fried nuggets and fries? That's one way that you can dramatically reduce the amount of pro-inflammatory fats that you're bringing into your body today. Can we make our own whatever it is instead of buying it once a week? Of course we can. We have time for that, right? So all those things are important things to start to build upon and start to kind of move through your journey. Now, I also want to make clear that a lot of times the olive oil, avocado oil, that when it's verified that it's 100% that product, whereas like the Walmart brand, it's like Better Choice or something, avocado oil is not avocado oil. It's mostly canola oil, and they don't have to really disclose that. So when you're buying a high quality oil that is 100% what it says it's going to be, it's going to be pretty expensive, and that may not be in your budget. And the whole thing about being a dietitian is that we understand that the most important thing is to nourish your body within your budget and your capabilities and your skills and all of that. So just remember that it's okay if you can't do all these things. Like I'm not here, I'm not trying to, but what I do want to do is make it very clear that beef tallow is different than seed oils, but it's still an omega-6 for the most part. And there's really not a good scientific way to determine the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio in beef fat, and it causes heart disease. Keep that in mind. One last thing that I did want to say was that science and research are the true determinants of the recommendations that any dietitian will make. When we look at somebody like Robert F. Kennedy, I don't know actually what his background is. I'm not like up to date with him, but what I do know is that I'm bound by a code of ethics, meaning I can't make recommendations that are not backed in science. So I would never sit in an interview chair and tell people that eating McDonald's fries are fine as long as they're made with beef tallow. Because actually, essentially, it's kind of the same thing to your cells as whatever it is that they're using. Like, I'm just really, really confused by this. So I had to come on here and say all of those things. Now I'm going to have to figure out how to stop this.